Hey everyone, Brayden here, coming to you with a much anticipated Disney news update where we are finally going to talk about the Star Wars Hotel. There's been a lot of content out of this thing as of late, so if you're getting kind of sick of hearing about it, I totally hear you. It's a bit of an exhausting topic to talk about because going into it, you had this group of fans expecting it to prove all those mad Star Wars nerds wrong and be the biggest new thing ever, and then you had a group of fans expecting this to be a total fail with lots and lots of stuff to make fun of, and there definitely is. We got things like space dance classes, and we also got footage of space bingo, which for the price, and considering this is supposed to be set in Star Wars and is not just a regular cruise, they are laughable things, but they definitely are in the backdrop. They're not really, the main offerings. It's not why you do this experience. They are kind of goofy, but really, it's not the meat and potatoes. You really can't criticize those things and say, oh, the whole experience isn't worth it. There were some things that we got, namely the actors, the storyline, the finale, that really show how cool Imagineering's idea for this experience was. We've seen lots of good reviews come out of the Starcruiser so far. We've also seen plenty of critiques. My question has been less on, would I like to do this? It's definitely not for me. The question I've had is, will this Starcruiser work? Is there a market out there for this thing? Will it exist this time next year? Disney built a permanent facility here for what they hope to be a permanent, very successful Star Wars themed cruise on land. It has that huge price tag, voyages taking off every few days. Of course, it's not really going anywhere. It's just taking place in a building, but sort of in the story, that's how it's supposed to go. You guys know my take. I don't think there is a big enough audience. I think this thing is destined to go the way of the NBA experience for a not dissimilar reason. And that isn't to knock this project. It is a million steps above the NBA experience. Quality-wise, what Imagineering did here, turns out the Starcruiser had some things in store I was very surprised by. It is insane, the level of immersion you have down to every last detail, so we'll get into the positives just as much as some of the more critical questions surrounding this project. And on top of all of this, the media for a week was covering the Starcruiser nonstop. That whole time on the availability calendar on Disney's website, the place appeared to be sold out. Reporters were saying, wow, this place is really in demand. It's sold out already. Then guess what just happened? You'll never guess. Moments ago, the calendar was updated where now we have tons and tons of availability showing up on the calendar. So what happened? Did everyone cancel once the footage came out from inside the ship? The reviews so far have been quite good, so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Another theory is maybe Disney opened up more rooms on the ship. Maybe they were holding some rooms back. The problem with that is if they just raise capacity across the board on the ship, why wouldn't all the dates have become available when Disney first dropped the availability? Why did only some days gain that availability? Needless to say, we have a lot to get into here. So starting off with the media previews the other week, going into it, there was a lot of concern from fans the reviews would be biased. And to a certain extent, they absolutely are. If you're in there doing a media preview, some folks know if they say negative things, they're likely not going to be invited back. They're not going to be able to go to any more press events. And there are a lot of openings on the way with things like Tron and Guardians, influencers want to do. Who could blame them? That would probably be a lot of fun. Other media folks have a little bit more staying power for various reasons where they can be a little bit more critical, but at the end of the day, you got this very expensive experience for free to review. It's like that saying, free food tastes good. So while yes, I do think there are some folks that go to these media events that are going to spin things positive no matter what, we had friends, we had fellow creators who went and did this experience, and I trust that their reviews are honest. I think they genuinely had a good time. And this gets to the core of the experience itself, which is this experience is for a very specific type of fan. I've always said this experience is specifically for hardcore fans who want to LARP, who want to do a live action role play. Here's the thing though, now that we know where the value is in it, namely the character interactions, you throwing yourself into the story, being a part of it, I think that this experience actually appeals to an even smaller subset of people who want to LARP. The real market for this thing seems to be hardcore fans who want to LARP, who are extroverted and can suspend disbelief so much so that they're going going to have a really fun time doing activities like scanning QR codes in the mobile app in Galaxy's Edge and things like that I think I would just find very tedious. And that's why I think the media events, everyone had a great time, because at the media events and even these first couple of paid cruises since the place opened on March 1st, they've been packed with influencers, bloggers, and vloggers that are the type of guest that is an entertainer by trade. They're going to try to be part of the story. They're going to try to have a good time and go the extra mile because they're entertainers. They make their living making content online. The issue becomes, as each cruise goes by, it's going to be less and less that demographic, and these cruises will be occupied by an increasingly more normative audience. And what do normal, in this case very well-off normal guests, expect when they go to Disney? They expect to sit on a ride and be entertained. And that isn't this experience. This experience, to get the most out of it, you need to be entertaining, become part of the story, go out of your way to interact with the characters, be part of the plot, do these side quests, live your own Star Wars story. That's the whole concept here. That's the inspiration for this experience and Galaxy's Edge as a whole. Turns out Galaxy's Edge, that stuff really didn't pan out. Here, they are trying to make it pan out. That's what they're trying to do here. And if being in a 48-hour play on stage with the characters doesn't sound like fun to you, this isn't for you. I know it isn't for me. I've always known that. That's why I haven't covered this experience a ton through its development. But it's important to stress this because a lot of criticism I've seen about this experience and just how gross it is, you know, the price tag on it, it's just so ridiculous. There's a shop inside of there, so people are paying $5,000 getting on a ship to get exclusive merchandise and things like that. It is just kind of gross. There's definitely a lot to criticize here, but I feel like a lot of the criticism that's being leveled towards this experience is trying to treat it like Disney's normal offerings. They're comparing it to things like Disney's cruises, because Disney is sort of going with the cruise model here. The thing is, this really is quite different than a cruise, because what this really is it's sort of this play almost. You're in this story. It's supposed to be themed. It's supposed to be immersive. You have all these characters on the ship with you. That's really not how a regular cruise is, obviously. And how many people are out there that are going to pay this much money for an experience like that? I just don't get it. I don't see how there is an audience for this long term. I just think it would work in smaller portions much better. You know, it'd have more longevity that way. Namely, I think there should be a dining venue like was originally planned for Galaxy's Edge, where you have acts, where you have stuff going on with actors. A lot of people just say they shouldn't have done this hotel at all. All this stuff should just be an integral part of Galaxy's Edge. But we know the reason it isn't, and that's because people pay one ticket price to enter the park, and then if Disney just includes stuff, they really can't justify it the same as if it's part of its own separate thing where you're paying specifically for that thing, right? These talented actors, they cost Disney a lot. Disney wants it to be directly billed, where guests pay this huge sum specifically to participate with the actors on the ship for 2 days. That way Disney can say, see, we're getting our money's worth out of these expensive actors. But the cost on the guest end is just so much in order to experience this stuff. I just have a hard time envisioning this thing lasting. And while I was pleasantly surprised the experience wasn't nearly as cringy as I expected it to be, as I thought it was going to be a few months back, I still have the same take, which is, how does this thing last? It really feels like a pop-up event almost. The place itself, it's very permanent looking. I don't mean to insult the place itself, how it looks or anything like that. It seems permanent, but I just mean the experience of it sort of feels like a pop-up experience. Like, take a Star Wars cruise. A Star Wars cruise is coming to a town near you, and this is something where Disney would set it up, and it goes from city to city to city. That's what it feels like a bit. How this is going to last in a single location long term, I just don't understand. How is this going to last year round? The availability calendar we mentioned at the top doesn't provide much solace. More and more availability is continuing to pop up here. Definitely some of this is cancellations, but given how many dates became available all at once, some are theorizing this is Disney opening up more rooms. The argument against this is, why did only some days gain availability on the calendar while others didn't? When it was first updated, if Disney raised capacity across the board, wouldn't there be new dates everywhere? And then different dates will start to be booked up. Whatever the case may be, if I'm right about this thing not lasting, we will see that all unfold in the future here, or perhaps I'll be wrong. In 5 years from now, the Galactic Starcruiser, it'll still be this smashing success, and what will end up happening is, this is something that CEO Bob Chapek has talked about. He's alluded to this, that they might expand this to other places and also use this model for other stories, maybe even if it is successful. I just have a hard time envisioning that happening, although I am quite impressed with what we ended up getting here, even if it's something I wouldn't personally do. Let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed, be sure to to subscribe. I'll be back with you later this week with some breaking news. Nothing earth-shattering, but we've got some notable things to share pertaining to the Tron coaster, so stay tuned for that. Also, the reason it took me so long to make this video is because the last few weeks I've been bouncing around the state of Florida, getting all this footage for another big video that is on the way soon. So stay tuned for all of that. We have a lot of big stuff on the way. For the Mickey Mouse Magic Studio, this is Brayden. Thank you so much for watching. Have a magical day.